What happens when a poised, unshakable Hollywood star walks onto one of the most politically charged daytime talk shows, and in a single moment, flips the entire tone of the room? What happens when the questions stop being safe, the smiles stop being rehearsed, and the truth, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore, cuts straight through the air? Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment below, because stories like this don't just entertain, they make you feel something. The studio lights gleam like 1,000 watchful eyes, bouncing off polished surfaces and perfectly arranged cue cards. The audience buzzes with anticipation, a low murmur rippling through the room like the calm before a storm. The cameras glide silently into position, capturing every angle, every reaction, every flicker of emotion that might soon unfold. Backstage, there's a shift in the energy. Zendaya stands just beyond the curtain. Calm, composed, but not untouched. She adjusts her sleeve slowly, her fingers steady, but her eyes? Focused, sharp. There's something different today. Something beneath the surface that even the makeup artists couldn't soften. This wasn't just another interview. And she knew it. On the other side of the stage, the hosts are already seated. Papers stacked neatly. Notes scribbled in margins. Smiles practiced. Among them, Sunny Hostin sits upright, her expression thoughtful, but firm, like someone who's already decided the direction this conversation is going to take. She flips one page, then another, her lips pressed together for just a second. "Ready," someone off camera whispers. She nods. The music swells. Applause erupts. And just like that, the moment begins. Zendaya steps into the light. The audience reacts instantly. A wave of admiration, cheers rising and crashing like ocean tides. She smiles, graceful and warm, waving slightly as she walks toward the panel. Every step measured, every movement effortless. But there's a tension in her shoulders. Something almost invisible, unless you're really looking. She takes her seat. There's a brief exchange of pleasantries. Laughter. Compliments. The kind of opening that feels familiar, safe, like every other segment viewers have seen 100 times before. But beneath it, something is building. Sunny leans forward slightly, her tone shifting, subtle but deliberate. "Zendaya," she begins, her voice smooth but edged with curiosity. "You've been very vocal lately about certain industry expectations. Some people feel you've distanced yourself from traditional Hollywood narratives." The room quiets, just a fraction. Zendaya tilts her head. A small smile. "Have I?" she replies gently. There's a pause. Sunny doesn't smile back. "Well," she continues, tapping her notes lightly, "you've spoken about pressure, about image control, even hinted at manipulation within the industry. That's a strong word." The audience shifts. Some lean forward. Others glance at each other. Zendaya's fingers rest calmly in her lap. She exhales soft, controlled. When she looks up, her gaze is steady. "I think," she says, choosing each word carefully, "when people hear honesty, it can sound like something stronger than it is." Sunny raises an eyebrow. "So you're saying there's no manipulation?" And there it is. The first crack in the surface. Zendaya doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she leans back slightly, her eyes scanning the panel. Not defensively, but thoughtfully. Like she's deciding how much truth this room is ready to handle. "Let me ask you something," Zendaya says quietly. The shift is instant. The audience feels it. Sunny pauses, just for a second. "Go ahead." Zendaya's voice remains calm, but now there's weight behind it. "Do you think people in this industry are always allowed to be exactly who they are, without consequence?" Silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind that stretches. Sunny straightens. "Well, I think." "No," Zendaya interrupts gently but firmly. "Not what we hope. What actually happens?" The tension spikes. One of the other hosts glances between them, sensing the change in tone. Sunny's expression tightens slightly. "I think it depends on the individual. Some people navigate it better than others." Zendaya nods slowly. "Exactly." Another pause. "And when they don't?" That question lingers in the air like a challenge. Sunny leans forward now, more direct. "Are you speaking from personal experience?" Zendaya meets her gaze. No hesitation. "Yes." The audience reacts, soft murmurs, a ripple of surprise. Sunny flips a page again, but her movements are sharper now. Less controlled. "You've had a very successful career," she says. "You've been praised, supported, given opportunities many only dream of. So when you talk about pressure or manipulation, some might say it sounds ungrateful." There it is. The word hangs heavy. Ungrateful. The atmosphere changes instantly. Zendaya doesn't flinch, but something in her expression shifts. Not anger. Not even frustration. Something deeper. Disappointment. I think, she says slowly, there's a difference between being grateful and being silent. A few people in the audience clap instinctively, then quickly stop, unsure if they should. Sunny's jaw tightens. No one is asking you to be silent, she replies. But there's a responsibility that comes with influence. Words matter. Zendaya leans forward now. And for the first time, there's an edge in her voice. Exactly, she says. That's why I choose mine carefully. The air feels electric. Charged. You see, Zendaya continues, her tone still controlled but undeniably more intense. When someone speaks about their experience, especially when it doesn't fit the narrative people are comfortable with, it's very easy to label it as negativity. Or ingratitude. She pauses, looks directly at Sunny. But that doesn't make it untrue. The audience erupts, this time louder. Applause breaking through the tension like a crack of thunder. Sunny tries to regain control. But don't you think? No, Zendaya says softly. And the room freezes. It's not loud. It's not aggressive. But it's final. Sunny blinks, caught off guard for just a moment. Zendaya doesn't raise her voice. Doesn't change her posture. But the power dynamic? It's shifted. Completely. I think, Zendaya continues, her voice now carrying a quiet authority, that for a long time, people have been more comfortable hearing polished stories than honest ones. The camera zooms in slightly, capturing every detail, every micro-expression. And when someone chooses honesty, she adds, it can feel disruptive. Sunny exhales slowly, her composure returning, but just barely. Well, she says, this is certainly honest. A faint smile from Zendaya, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Good, she replies. The audience laughs nervously, but no one is relaxed anymore, because something real is happening, something unscripted. And no one, not the hosts, not the audience, not even the producers behind the scenes, can quite predict what's coming next. The cameras keep rolling. The lights burn hotter. And as Zendaya sits there, calm but unyielding, it becomes clear. This isn't just an interview anymore. It's a confrontation. And it's only just beginning. The air doesn't settle after that moment. It thickens. You can feel it in the way the audience stops shifting in their seats, in the way the cameras linger just a second longer than usual, in the way even the co-hosts seem unsure whether to lean in or pull back. Because whatever just happened, it wasn't planned. And now there's no script to fall back on. Zendaya sits still, composed, but there's a quiet intensity in her posture now, like she's fully present in a way that goes beyond performance. Across from her, Sunny Hostin adjusts slightly in her chair, her fingers pressing against her notes. Not flipping them anymore, just holding them. Control is slipping, but she's not ready to give it up. So let's talk about that disruption, Sunny says, her tone measured but sharper now. Because when public figures speak out, especially someone with your reach, it doesn't just stay personal. It influences millions of people watching you. Zendaya nods slowly. I'm aware. Then you understand, Sunny continues, leaning in, why some might question the timing of your statements. Why now? Why frame it this way, when you're at the height of your success? There's a slight murmur in the audience again. The question lands heavier than the last. Zendaya's gaze doesn't waver, but this time, she doesn't answer right away. She inhales, and for the first time, there's a flicker of something more vulnerable beneath her calm. Because I can, she says quietly. The simplicity of the answer catches people off guard. Sunny tilts her head. That's it. Zendaya's lips press together for a moment before she speaks again. For a long time, she continues, her voice steady but softer now, I didn't feel like I could say certain things. Not without risking being misunderstood, or labeled, or replaced. The last word hangs in the air. Replaced. The audience reacts, subtle but real. Sunny's expression tightens again, but this time there's something else mixed in, curiosity. Replaced, she repeats. Zendaya nods. Yeah, she says. Because that's the reality people don't like to talk about. You're celebrated until you're not convenient anymore. The tension shifts again, less combative now, more revealing. One of the other hosts leans forward slightly, unable to stay silent. But you're one of the most in-demand stars right now, she says. You've built a brand on authenticity. People admire that. Zendaya turns toward her, her expression softening just a little. And I'm grateful for that, she replies. I really am. But admiration doesn't cancel out pressure. Sunny interjects quickly. What kind of pressure are we talking about? Zendaya looks back at her. And this time there's no hesitation. The kind that tells you who to be before you even figure it out yourself. Silence. The cameras catch Sunny blinking, just once. Zendaya continues, her voice gaining strength with every word. The kind that rewards you for fitting into a version of yourself that people are comfortable with and quietly punishes you when you don't. The audience is completely still now. No whispers. No shifting. Just listening. Sunny folds her hands together. But isn't that true in any industry? She asks. Not just entertainment? Zendaya nods slightly. Sure, she says. But most industries don't put your identity on display for millions of people to critique in real time. That lands. Hard. Sunny exhales through her nose, clearly recalibrating. So what changed, she asks. What made you decide to speak now in this way? Zendaya's eyes flicker, just briefly. And for a moment, it feels like she might pull back. Like she might soften the edge, redirect the conversation, bring it back to safer ground. But she doesn't. Instead, she leans forward. And when she speaks, her voice is quieter, but it cuts deeper. I got tired, she says. The words are simple, but the weight behind them? Unmistakable. Tired of what? Sunny presses. Zendaya's gaze sharpens again. Tired of pretending that everything is as perfect as it looks, she replies. Tired of watching people struggle silently because they think they're the only ones feeling it. Tired of protecting systems that don't always protect us back. A ripple moves through the audience, this time louder, more emotional. Sunny notices it, and for the first time, there's a flicker of something like hesitation in her expression. Because the room is shifting. Not toward her. Toward Zendaya. But when you say systems, Sunny says, her voice tightening slightly, that's a broad statement. Are you referring to specific people? Institutions. Zendaya shakes her head. I'm not here to name individuals, she says calmly. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Sunny asks, a hint of frustration slipping through. Zendaya holds her gaze. The point, she says, is that we can't keep pretending these conversations aren't necessary just because they're uncomfortable. That line hits like a spark in dry air. Applause breaks out, stronger this time, more confident. Some people even stand. The energy in the room is no longer neutral. It's divided, charged, alive. Sunny forces a small smile, but it doesn't quite mask the tension in her jaw. No one is saying the conversation isn't necessary, she replies. But there's a difference between starting a conversation and controlling the narrative around it. Zendaya's expression doesn't change. But her next words? They shift everything again. Who's been controlling it so far? The question slices through the air. Clean. Direct. Unavoidable. Sunny opens her mouth. Then stops. For just a second. And that second, it's enough. Enough for the audience to feel it. Enough for the other hosts to glance at each other. Enough for the moment to stretch into something bigger than either of them. Because now, it's not just about opinions. It's about power. Sunny recovers quickly, but there's a slight edge in her voice now. I think narratives are shaped by many voices, she says. Including yours. Zendaya nods. Exactly, she replies. So why is it a problem when I use mine? The audience erupts again, louder than before. This time, there's no hesitation. No uncertainty. Just reaction. Real, unfiltered reaction. Sunny leans back slightly, her composure cracking just enough to be noticeable. Well, she says, it's not a problem. It just comes with scrutiny. Zendaya smiles faintly. I'm used to scrutiny, she says. What I'm not used to is being told how to express my own experience. That lands. And this time, even one of the co-hosts nods subtly. The balance in the room has shifted again. Not aggressively, not explosively, but undeniably. Sunny takes a breath, clearly trying to steer the conversation back into more controlled territory. Let's pivot for a moment, she says. You've also spoken about younger artists looking up to you. Do you worry that sharing these perspectives might discourage them? There's a pause, but this one feels different. Less tense, more reflective. Zendaya leans back slightly, her expression softening again, but only just. I think the truth can be discouraging, she says. But it can also be empowering. Sunny watches her closely. How so? Zendaya's eyes flick briefly toward the audience. Then back. Because when you know what you're walking into, she says, You can make choices with your eyes open. A quiet murmur of agreement ripples through the room. And maybe, she adds, you don't lose yourself trying to meet expectations that were never yours to begin with. That line hangs in the air. Heavy, honest, unavoidable. Sunny doesn't respond immediately. And for the first time since the conversation began, she doesn't have the next question ready. The cameras linger. The audience waits. Zendaya sits still, grounded, unwavering. And somewhere behind the scenes, producers are scrambling. Because this segment, it's no longer predictable. It's no longer contained. And as the silence stretches just a little too long, one thing becomes crystal clear. This conversation isn't just pushing boundaries anymore. It's breaking them. And whatever comes next, there's no going back. The silence doesn't just linger, it expands. It settles over the studio like a weight no one can quite shake off. Even the lights seem harsher now, casting sharper edges on every expression, every glance exchanged across the table. The audience, once reactive, now sits in a kind of suspended stillness, like they're witnessing something they weren't prepared for, but can't look away from. Zendaya doesn't move. She doesn't need to, because somehow, without raising her voice, without interrupting, without demanding attention, she has it. Completely. Across from her, Sunny Hostin shifts in her seat again, this time more noticeably. The rhythm she had at the beginning, the control, the pacing, the direction, it's fractured now. Not gone, but strained. Like she's recalculating every move in real time. A producer's voice murmurs faintly in someone's earpiece. A reminder. A nudge. Keep it moving. Sunny inhales slowly, straightening her posture, reclaiming just enough composure to continue. Let me ask you something more directly, she says, her tone firm again. But now, there's urgency behind it. Do you think the industry has treated you unfairly? The question lands like a challenge. Clear. Focused. Hard to sidestep. Zendaya's eyes don't flicker. But she doesn't answer right away. Instead, she studies Sunny for just a moment, like she's weighing not just the question, but the intent behind it. And when she finally speaks, her voice is quieter than before. No, she says. A beat. Then, I think it's treated me exactly the way it was designed to. The room shifts. It's subtle, but unmistakable. Sunny leans in, eyebrows tightening. And what does that mean? She presses. Zendaya exhales softly, her fingers interlacing in her lap. There's no defensiveness in her posture, only clarity. It means, she begins, that the system isn't broken. It's functioning the way it always has. Another ripple through the audience. This one deeper, more unsettled. And when you understand that, she continues, her voice gaining quiet strength, you stop taking everything personally, and you start seeing the patterns. Sunny's lips part slightly, but she doesn't interrupt this time. Because now, even she's listening. What patterns? One of the co-hosts asks carefully, her tone less confrontational, more curious. Zendaya turns her head slightly toward her, acknowledging the shift. The ones that decide who gets to speak freely, and who gets labeled difficult, she says. Who gets to evolve, and who gets boxed into an image that's profitable. There's a pause. Then she adds, almost as an afterthought, who gets second chances and who doesn't. The weight of that sentence lands heavier than anything before it. A few audience members exchange glances. Some nod slowly. Others sit frozen. Sunny folds her arms lightly, not defensive but bracing. But you've had the freedom to evolve, she says. Your roles, your public image, you've pushed boundaries. Zendaya nods. I have, she agrees. But not without resistance. What kind of resistance? Sunny asks, sharper again. And this time, Zendaya doesn't soften it. The kind that doesn't always show up in headlines, she says. The conversations behind closed doors. The subtle suggestions. The expectations that aren't written down, but are very clearly understood. The room feels smaller now. Tighter. And what happens if you don't meet those expectations? Sunny asks. Zendaya meets her gaze. You find out how conditional everything is. The words hang there. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Real. Sunny leans back slightly, exhaling through her nose again. And yet, she says, you're still here. Thriving. Successful. Doesn't that contradict what you're saying? For the first time, Zendaya smiles. But it's not a light smile. It's knowing. That's the part people see, she says. The audience quiets even further. And what they don't see, Sunny presses. Zendaya's expression shifts, just slightly. And now there's something else there. Not anger. Not frustration. Something closer to honesty without protection. What they don't see, she says slowly, is how many times you have to decide whether being accepted is worth losing pieces of yourself. The words hit like a shockwave. The audience reacts, audibly this time. Gasps. Soft exclamations. Even one of the hosts visibly stills. Sunny doesn't speak. Not immediately. Because for a moment, there's nothing to counter that with. Zendaya continues, her voice steady, but undeniably more emotional now. And the truth is, sometimes you don't even realize you're losing those pieces until you step back and ask yourself why you don't feel like yourself anymore. The room is completely silent. No movement. No whispers. Just listening. And that's not something I'm willing to ignore anymore, she adds. That line draws a wave of applause, strong, immediate, almost instinctive. But it fades quickly, because the tension is still there. Still building. Sunny presses her lips together, her gaze fixed. But don't you think, she says carefully, that every career path requires compromise? Zendaya nods once. Yes, she says. A beat. But not identity. That lands harder than anything before. Even Sunny feels it. You can see it, in the way her shoulders drop just slightly, in the way her next words take longer to form. But where do you draw that line? She asks, quieter now. Zendaya leans forward again. And this time, her voice doesn't just carry through the room. It anchors it. You draw it the moment you realize that staying silent is costing you more than speaking ever could. The audience erupts again, louder than ever. Some people stand. Others clap with intensity, not just reaction. Because now, it's not just about her. It's about them. Sunny lets the applause settle, her expression unreadable. But there's something different now. Less resistance. More reflection. Still, she pushes once more. Do you worry, she asks, that speaking this openly could affect your career moving forward? Zendaya doesn't hesitate. No. The answer is immediate. Certain. And that certainty shifts the room all over again. Why not? Sunny asks. Zendaya's eyes don't waver. Because if it does, she says, then it proves exactly what I'm talking about. A sharp inhale ripples through the audience. That's it. That's the line. The one that can't be undone. The one that reframes everything. Sunny leans back fully now, her hands resting on the table. For the first time since this began. She doesn't have a counter. No follow-up. No pivot. Just silence. Zendaya sits back as well, her posture relaxed again, but not retreating. Grounded. Resolved. And in that moment, the entire energy of the studio shifts. Because what started as an interview has turned into something else entirely. Something raw. Something unfiltered. Something that can't be neatly wrapped up before a commercial break. The cameras keep rolling. The audience holds its breath. And somewhere in the control room, voices overlap. Decisions are being made. Segments are being rearranged. Because this isn't just television anymore. It's a moment. And as the tension lingers, thick and undeniable, one thing becomes clear. Whatever happens next is going to leave a mark. And then something unexpected happens. The tension doesn't explode. It settles. Not into comfort, but into something heavier. Something real. The kind of silence that doesn't come from not knowing what to say, but from realizing that anything you say next might not be enough. Zendaya sits back in her chair, calm again, but different now. There's no guardedness left in her posture. No performance. Just presence. Across from her, Sunny Hostin doesn't reach for her notes this time. She doesn't adjust her posture. She just looks at her. Really looks at her. And for a moment, the entire room feels like it's witnessing something beyond television. Beyond interviews. Beyond debate. It feels human. Sunny exhales slowly, her voice quieter when she finally speaks. I think, she says, choosing her words carefully now, what you're describing resonates with more people than just those in your industry. Zendaya nods gently. I hope so, she replies. No edge. No tension. Just honesty. One of the co-hosts leans in slightly, her tone softer than it's been all morning. Do you feel lighter? Saying all of this out loud. Zendaya pauses. And this time, the answer doesn't come quickly. She looks down for just a second, just enough to reveal that this moment, as composed as she's been, has cost her something. Then she looks back up. A little, she says. A small smile follows, but it's not the kind meant for cameras. It's real. And a little exposed, she adds. A ripple of understanding moves through the audience. Sunny nods slowly, absorbing that. I can understand that, she says. And for the first time since the interview began, there's no pushback in her voice. No challenge, just acknowledgement. But the moment doesn't stay gentle for long. Because outside the studio, the world is already reacting. Cut to the control room. Producers are leaning over monitors, voices overlapping, hands moving quickly across screens. Clips are being flagged. Timestamps noted. Segments marked for immediate release. Pull that line. Not identity, one producer says urgently. Already clipped, another replies. Social team needs it now. Because they know. They all know. This isn't just another interview. This is viral. And within minutes, before the segment has even officially ended, snippets of the conversation begin surfacing online. Phones buzz in the audience. Not loudly, but enough. Enough to signal that something bigger is unfolding beyond these walls. Back on stage, the conversation begins to wrap. But there's no neat bow to tie it with. No light joke to ease the tension. No quick pivot to promote a project. Because that would feel wrong. Sunny clears her throat slightly, her voice steady, but subdued. Well, she says, this has certainly been a conversation. A faint, almost self-aware smile. The audience chuckles softly, but it's not the same laughter from earlier. It's quieter, thoughtful. Zendaya nods. Yeah, she says simply. Another pause. And then, applause. Not explosive this time. Not reactive, but sustained. Respectful. The kind that builds slowly, like people are processing what they've just witnessed even as they respond to it. Some audience members stand. Others remain seated, clapping with a kind of intensity that feels more personal than performative. Because for many of them, this wasn't just entertainment. It was recognition. The cameras pull back, capturing the full stage. The hosts, the guest, the audience, a moment frozen in time. And then, fade out. But the story, it doesn't end there. Because within hours, the internet ignites. Clips of Zendaya's words flood every platform imaginable. One line in particular spreads like wildfire. Not identity. Another. If it affects my career, it proves my point. Comment sections explode. Some praise her courage, calling it one of the most honest interviews they've seen in years. Others question her stance, debating whether her position comes from privilege or perspective. But no one is ignoring it. Hashtags begin trending. Discussion panels pick it up. Articles start appearing, dissecting every word, every pause, every glance exchanged between Zendaya and Sunny Hostin. Was it a confrontation? A breakthrough? A shift in how these conversations are handled on live television? Even other celebrities begin to subtly weigh in. Some posting cryptic messages, others more direct, echoing parts of what Zendaya said without naming her. Because they felt it too. That line between speaking and staying safe. Back at the studio, long after the cameras have stopped rolling, the atmosphere lingers. Crew members move more quietly. Conversations are softer. Because everyone knows. They were in the room when something real happened. Sunny sits for a moment after the segment ends, her hands resting on the table, her expression distant. Not defeated. Not shaken. But thoughtful. Deeply so. Across from her, Zendaya stands, exchanging a few quiet words with one of the producers. There's no dramatic exit. No visible tension left behind. Just a calm, grounded presence. But as she turns to leave, there's a brief moment. A glance exchanged between her and Sunny. No words. No smiles. Just recognition. And maybe respect. Because despite everything, they both held their ground. They both pushed. They both revealed something real. And in doing so, they created a moment that won't be easily forgotten. The kind that lives beyond the broadcast. Beyond the headlines. Beyond the clips. The kind that stays with people. And now, it's your turn. What did you think about that moment? Was Zendaya right to speak so openly? Or did she cross a line on live television? Did Sunny push too hard? Or was she asking the questions that needed to be asked? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your perspective. And if you felt the intensity of this moment, if you could feel the tension, the honesty, the shift happening right in front of you, make sure you subscribe to Stage View, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to see it. Because these aren't just stories. They're moments that change how we see everything. And trust me, there's a lot more coming.